Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Did I love this episode? No. Did I hate it? No. I was meh. But before I get into my review, if you're new to this channel, hello and welcome. I summarize and review the latest Central Kapımı episodes, say what I like, what I didn't like, what I think might happen next. If you like these kinds of videos, like, comment, share, but most importantly, subscribe so we can meet on a weekly basis. As always, let's talk about the side storylines before we dive into the Aidan and Serkan storyline. First, we have Engin and Pırıl. In this episode, their main plot line was Engin being excited that Pırıl is pregnant, Pırıl being hormonal, being sad and disappointed that Engin might have forgotten Valentine's Day, and then when they're on a walk he gifts her a necklace and he says Valentine's Day is not just one day for him, it's every day, and she gets really emotional, starts crying, and it was just so adorable. And him taking care of her, not letting her walk down the stairs by herself, just being always careful near her, giving her nuts, vitamins, everything just for her to be comfortable, to be healthy for the baby. And it was just so adorable, and also very funny when him and Aidan had this emotional surge of them, oh my god, it's so cute, and then them talking about going to the doctors, and also Engin and Pırıl looking at the sonogram. And yeah, it was just really adorable to see him this excited, and now Pırıl also kind of getting into this pregnancy mood. Then we have Aidan and Leyla, both of them desperately trying to find a date for Valentine's Day, so they don't want to spend Valentine's Day by themselves, but their options are very limited. Both of their possible candidates don't really have time or are not able to make it or something like that, and I really do think that both of them will end up together because both of them are kind of crazy in their own way, weird. Yeah, I don't know, I think they both fit together quite well, and I really do hope that we will see more of them in the future, like them pursuing a relationship, or maybe at first kind of helping each other in the relationship department, but in the end then ending up together. That would be really funny. Then we have Aidan, Eiffel and Chef Alexander. So Aidan is still very shocked about Eiffel and Chef Alexander being a couple, and also that Serkan and Aidan are not together, so her plans don't really work out. She's not that lucky in love, so she gets drunk, and it was just hilarious when Serkan was driving Aidan home and they hear Eiffel and Aidan screaming at each other and kind of fighting, but it was more Aidan talking loudly because she was drunk. And then as soon as she sees Serkan and Aidan walk in, she's like, oh my god, you're back together, and then smushes their faces together as if she wants them to kiss. It was just hilarious. I laughed so much. And then her starting to slap people, and that scene just went nuts, and it was pure chaos. It was just so hilarious to watch. And then Serkan kind of dragging Aidan out. Anyways, Aidan still hasn't lost hope to get Chef Alexander, so I do think that she happens to be in the same beauty salon as Eiffel, so Eiffel gets her nails done because Chef Alexander gifted her a 2-day trip kind of to relax herself and just them being together, and it was really adorable. But there was also a woman who said, oh, I know Chef Alexander, we dated for 2 months and he broke up with me on Valentine's Day. In the beginning it was all romantic and this euphoria and the hormones were amazing, blah blah blah, but then he didn't answer my calls, he spent time with other people, blah blah blah, and we broke up in the end. So Eiffel was kind of second guessing his gestures and everything he's doing, and Aidan was having the time of her life. She was like, oh my god, this is my chance, so if he really breaks up with Eiffel, it's my chance for me to get involved with him and in a relationship with him. So when Eiffel is already packed, and the night before she was trying to explain the situation to Aidan because Aidan was confused why was she packing, so she had a really hard time to tell Aidan the truth, but then Aidan was like, I already know, be happy, blah blah blah. So in the end she gets really excited for Eiffel. So Eiffel was waiting for Chef Alexander. She called him and he didn't pick up, just like the woman said. So she was having those flashbacks, and then I was like, this can't be true, like he will for sure appear. And what happened, he knocked on the door and he came and they went on their trip. Then we have Ferit and Ceren. I really like that they didn't change Ferit's character into an evil person, because he really tries to help Ceren, tries to make her happy, tries to stay civil with her, be friendly with her. He even gives her a cactus or two. what do you call two cactuses? Like, there were two of them, and he said they represent us, they have a flower, and they also have thorns. And Jagan, the whole episode, like, she's losing it. I mean, we do find out because he has a talk with Melek, and Melek tells him that she had a very rough childhood and she takes pills since she is 20. So there is something we don't really know about Jagan, and because she doesn't take those pills, she's very agitated, very negative, because when she takes the pills, she's very calm and collected, and the old Jagan. And now because she doesn't take them anymore, because I do think that seeing Dennis with Ada and also everybody kind of being around Ada, protecting Ada, she feels very vulnerable. And also Celine being back and her knowing that Ferit was in love with Celine, like, those were all triggers for her to lose it, and for her not to take the pills makes it even worse. So she's really losing it. I mean, I do understand kind of where this frustration with Ada comes from, because she's also in this friends group, but all of them are kind of focused on Ada and her problems. I kind of understand it that she wants for her friends to also support her, be there to listen to her. So I kind of understand that, but the length that she's going is just ridiculous. So Ferit is talking to Melek, like I said, and he really wants to help and to find a solution for Jagan to get better. So he goes to her place, snoops around, but he finds some sheets, and I don't know what is written on it because we didn't get to see. So I'm really interested to see what did he really find in that drawer by the table. And because Jagan loses it, she dyes her hair pink. Like, this is the worst hair job I've ever seen. For me, it seemed like really obvious that it was like just top part being a wig. That's kind of a sign for her that she's losing it. And she also went to Dennis, because when I first saw her with the pink hair, I thought it was like to help Dennis remember her like she was back in the day. But now watching the episode, I was like, okay, this is just a sign for her she's lost it. Anyway, she goes to Dennis's shop and she talks to him, kind of lays it out there that he's the only one for her, blah blah blah. He's being a gentleman at first, being like, okay, he said, what do you want from me? And then she goes in for a kiss. The next thing we actually see in a flashback, because he's then really shocked and says that I'm not interested in you, we don't have a future together, blah blah blah, and just throws her out, and she's really upset. And then we see her on the street, and I don't know, where did she go? She also had a small meet up with Ferit by the water, and he's like, well, you're avoiding me, blah blah blah, and she was really avoiding him, trying to go away, but he was like, please, let's be friends, let's talk it out. But she's like, no, leave me alone, blah blah blah. So I don't think that he really deserves that, but I'm really interested to see, one, what did he find in her house, two, where did Jagan go, and three, what's her backstory, why did she start taking the pills? So yeah, I think that's all with the side storylines, and we can dive into the Ada and Serkan storyline. So we start right after the presentation and Ada announcing that she's engaged. Ada and Melek try to sneak out, but Eiffel gets them, and she says that she couldn't sleep at night, blah blah blah. She had to clean everything up, and it's kind of stress cleaning, and it reminded me of Sanem's mother, Mevkebe. So yeah, that's kind of what I was reminded of in that moment. And also the house that Jagan walks in, if I'm not mistaken, it was used in Medjugorje as Eylül. I think Eylül was her name. They used it as her house quite in the beginning, where she had this huge party. And wasn't it also the house of Hakan, or what was his name in Dolunay, like the bad guy? I'm not sure with Dolunay, I'm pretty sure with Medjugorje. Ada and Melek are trying to explain to Eiffel that it's just a game for Ada to get Serkan back, and she kind of accepted and is like, okay. Then we see Serkan talking to Aidan, and Aidan is like, how could you let that happen? You were so in love with her, how could you push her to a different man? It's all your fault, blah blah blah. And Serkan is like, please don't interfere, Ada has Dennis, I have Celine, don't meddle in anything. And that's when Aidan goes to Eiffel's place and she tells the exact same thing, that she couldn't sleep, that she is in shock, blah blah blah. And then her questioning Ada, how could she do that? And Ada being like, well, I listened to my heart. And I was like, Ada, please, like, she's on your side. You could have at least tell her the truth. But at the same time, I'm like, no, because I do think that Ida is still mad at Aidan that she kept the secret that Serkan was still alive. Then we have Ida arriving at work, Layla and Aidan congratulating her with confetti, and then she catches some, and as soon as she arrives in the office, she blows it in Serkan's face, and he's not amused at all because he wants to focus on work, but he can't because of Ida, blah blah blah. And Ida says, well, this is love. Then Celine comes, congratulates Ida. Ida is like, well, you're the happiest person, I'm 100% sure. And then Celine asks for the ring, and Ida says, well, it's a custom-made ring and it takes a little bit longer, so that's why she doesn't have a ring. And then Celine reads out the news about the engagement, about the presentation, and Serkan is not liking it at all. Then we see Ada working, Serkan really watching her, staring at her, and then she has a question, and because he didn't look up from his work, she notices that he was already watching her and looking at her. So she's confronting him with that, and he's like, well, I'm working. And she's like, no, you didn't look up when I called your name, so you weren't working, you were looking at me. And then suddenly red balls spill inside. Serkan is not amused at all, and the delivery guy comes with balloons, and the card says, I miss you, from Dennis. And it also made Serkan hold the balloons. And then when Inge comes in and tells them that he has this brunch prepared for the baby news reveal party, whatever, he's so excited because of the balloons, he scatters them around, and Serkan doesn't like it at all because now they're not bunched up together but all over his office. So because Serkan wants Sirius back, he goes to Ada's place, but Melek comes outside. She's like, enişte, and he's really confused, so she's correcting herself and being like, Serkan Bey. And then Serkan tells her why he's here, and Melek tells him that Sirius is actually with Ada at Dennis's place. And then before Serkan goes, Melek tests him and is like, enişte. He's just looking around being like, okay, what are you doing? And then she knows, okay, he's not back at his old self. So we see Ada waiting for Dennis at his cafe, whatever workplace. He brings a photographer. Now I don't know if it's the same photographer. I didn't pay that much attention because I was like, okay, random photographer just appeared. But at the end, there's also a photographer that Serkan knows. So I'm really confused if it's the same one or a different one. I don't know. If you could just tell me in the comments below if you've noticed anything. So he brings a photographer that he knows since he was in Brazil or something like that, and then they have this photo shoot because the photographer and Dennis want to show the soul of the furniture. Dennis, Ada and Sirius have this photo shoot, and Celine is actually watching them, and I was like, what a creep. But before Serkan arrives, she just goes. After Melek told him, I presume, where Dennis's shop is, he arrives there and he just whistles, and Sirius comes to him and he's really proud, just going to Ada being like, look at me, my dog still loves me. So Ada's like, of course you can have it, it's your dog, blah blah blah. But then there's a switch kind of in Serkan, and he's like, no, I see that Sirius really likes it with you, so you can have him and I will just have him over the weekends. And I thought that's kind of the first step for Serkan to like Ada or to be interested in her. I don't know how to explain it, but his wall is kind of crumbling. So they're inside Dennis's shop. Serkan is talking with Dennis about the furniture or something like that, and then Dennis is like, well, I like fixing up broken things, and looks at Ada. She's just observing and just sniffing at coffee, and then Serkan sees a starfish, I believe, on the table, and Dennis is like, well, that's the starfish we first saw when we met each other, and we wanted to pick it up and our hands touched, and I knew in that moment that she would be my wife, blah blah blah, like just exaggerating. Even Ada pulled him aside and said, well, you're exaggerating. But then Dennis kind of had a reasonable explanation, being like, well, if I told Serkan that I was away for 3 years, he wouldn't believe me and he wouldn't buy anything. So of course they have to play along, but I do think that Dennis is already pushing a little bit the boundaries. As soon as Serkan heard that, he didn't like it. It kind of scratched his ego, in my opinion. So it's already evening. Serkan is still there at Dennis's place with Ada and Dennis, and he says that he will go. Ada says it too. She says, well, she will take a taxi. Serkan offers her a ride, and Dennis is like, of course, okay, no problem, because she looks at him being like, okay, let me go with him. him. But you could see that Dennis was not really liking that thought of Ada spending more time with Serkan, so he's already trying to get his claws in. Then when Serkan and Ada arrive at Ada's place, Serkan is questioning her why didn't she tell him about the proposal or the starfish, and Ada told him, well, I didn't think it was necessary for you to know because we had our own story. And then when Ada wants to go, Serkan is asking her, are you happy? And then Ada is like, you, me and Sirius, we're a family, nobody can destroy us or get us apart, kind of. And then Serkan is like, did I destroy this love? And Ada is like, yes. Oh my god. And that's when they hear Aidan and Eiffel fighting. The next day we have Serkan apologizing for Aidan to Ada. Ada is looking at pictures. I do think that those were the photo shoot pictures. Then Serkan is trying to ask Ada and trying to find out if she knew Dennis since elementary school and was together with him since then. Why didn't she tell the old Serkan the truth about Dennis? And she was really avoiding to answer him. And then he asks her what we saw in the trailer, whose love is better, mine or Dennis's? She's not answering at first, and then he's like kind of insinuating, being like, well, you don't know what it's like for me to love you. And then she's like, well, at least I remember it, and it's Dennis's love. And I was like, oh my god, why did you have to do this? But I kind of understand, because she wants him to be jealous, to kind of nudge his memory. Oh, and before she answers that Dennis's love is better, she has those flashbacks of them kissing, being close together. Oh yeah, what I forgot to say is when Ceren was venting to Melek and being really angry with Ada and Melek, saying that it's all for show, don't get too worked up, and Ceren says that she doesn't want Ada to use Dennis in that way, Celine is actually recording their conversation, and then Celine goes to Ada and Serkan, wants to talk to them, then tells Ada to call Dennis, and I was like, oh my god, she's dropping the bomb. But then she invites them for dinner because it's Valentine's Day. She wants their marriages to celebrate it, kind of, on a yacht. Melek then comes up with this plan to lock Celine up in the office, tells Dennis to come up with an excuse why he can't make it so that Ada and Serkan can spend time alone together. Then we see Dennis calling Ada, apologizing that he has a lot of work to do. He tries to come a little bit later. Serkan is already on the boat. The man who prepared everything said that he prepared everything for Ada, how she likes it, blah blah blah. Serkan is a little bit, well, she's just being a guest, I'm with Celine, and that man is like, well, I can change it, and Serkan is like, no, leave it. So Ada goes on the boat. Serkan is like, do you want something to drink? She's like, no. And then Ada asks Serkan, how does it feel to forget somebody? And he's like, well, I didn't choose to forget. So you could see his frustration as well. And then she's kind of offended because he chose to forget exactly the year that they met. I was like, girl, just like he said, he didn't choose it. Then Dennis calls her that he's stuck in traffic and he can't make it. Serkan is trying to call Celine, but she doesn't pick up because Melek kind of lured Celine into an office and then closed the door, just like we saw in the trailer. Then Serkan is asking Ada what did they talk about in the past, and Ada tells him about everything. Then Serkan is like, did I already tell you about the star? She's like, yes. He points a star out and she's like, this is Sirius, blah blah blah. And then Serkan is answering her previous question, what it's like to forget something, and he's like, it's bad to not remember anything. And then he quotes a poem and she's like shocked, and she's like, do you remember? And he's like, no, I don't know where it came from. He has no clue, but he does remember that poem. And then Ada explains it to him that when they were together they saw this poem and both of them learned it, kind of, so it was something from their time together. So there's progress happening. Ada doesn't want to wait any longer and wants to go. Celine is actually seeing them, so Serkan and Ada, walking off the boat. Oh, and before they go off, Serkan is gifting Ada her engagement ring, like the flower part of the engagement ring. He put it on a necklace and he said, well, if I can't give you the last year, so because I can't remember it, at least I can give you this because it belongs to you. And I was like, oh my god, it was just so adorable. And he also spilled something on her and they were really close, but I thought him making the ring into a necklace, it was just so adorable. And I was like, Oh my god. So yeah, Celine goes to Serkan when Aidan is away and she tells him, well, let's go. He's like, no, I'm a little bit busy. I will come after you and we will meet somewhere. Then we have this montage where Serkan is remembering, or not really remembering, but thinking back to the times when he and Aidan were alone and close together. So at the cottages and also on the boat. And we also see Aidan and Melek talking to each other and her then seeing a shooting star. So the next day we see Dennis getting a box and he's really excited. He actually also goes to that baby brunch. We see Aidan and Melek talking, Dennis appearing, telling her that he has a surprise, and then we see everybody kind of gifting Engin and Pagul some presents for the baby and they get really emotional, especially Pagul, and then everybody is kind of gathered there. Dennis is like, because we're already celebrating, I have a present for you, Aidan, and then she opens the box and it's actually her wedding invitation with Dennis for the 20th of April, if I'm not mistaken. And Serkan is really shocked. He doesn't like it one bit. Celine is smiling and I didn't quite get it why, but then we see this flashback that the person that opened the door for her at the company, because he knew it from Melek, is Dennis. And then he's like, I do think that we can make a great team or help each other out. And Celine is like, I'm liking this. I think we will get along really well. And I'm like, why did you have to destroy this amazing character? He could have been such an amazing support system for Aidan. Why did you try to infuse him with the Celine poison? I don't know, and I'm not liking it. So yeah, Celine already knew about this present, and then Aidan is looking at Serkan. Oh no, before that, I'm really sorry because I already mentioned the photographer. So there's a person, a photographer, coming and recognizing Serkan. He asks about when the wedding between Serkan and Aidan is happening, and Serkan is really confused and says never, because I will marry Celine. And that was like, you could physically see Aidan's reaction, like this punch in her gut, this disappointment. And I do think because of this statement, she accepted Dennis's offer, kind of. So to explain it, Dennis told her that they can change the wedding invitation or the date, whatever she wants, but it's just a draft, kind of. And she says she doesn't like that. And Serkan, you have to watch him in the background. Serkan likes it. He's smiling. Oh, she declined his offer, kind of. But then she's like, I don't want it on the 20th of April. I want it on the 20th of March. Serkan is not liking it at all. And then you can also see Aidan having teary eyes, being really sad because of the things that she just said, because she knows she doesn't mean it, but she has to play along. And that's the end. And thank God we got a trailer. And that trailer was confusing, kind of. So Aidan is once again pushing this whole relationship and marriage and wedding into Serkan's face. Serkan is really restless. Like, he doesn't like it at all to know that Aidan will marry Dennis. And then we see him being like this, kind of a sign for me that he was having a flashback or he was remembering something. So I'm really interested to see what he was remembering in that moment. And then Serkan questioning Aidan, how could you marry a different person when there was this huge love story, amazing love between us? And then Aidan drops something. Serkan tries to help her pick it up, and then when they get up together, they kind of kiss. And I was like, this is so unrealistic. I mean, I kind of get why you want to push the kissing parts, but I already know the Senchal Kapımı theme, so even that kissing scene, they will cut it somehow, and Celine watches it. Celine sees it, and that's what I like. So yeah, it was okay. Like I said in the beginning, I didn't love it to be like, oh my god, it was amazing, but I didn't hate it. So for me, it was transitional, kind of to push the story further, but yeah, I mean, they could have done it better, of course, but they are kind of trying to mix the stories a little bit more to get more storylines for future episodes, if that makes sense. But yeah, I wasn't that amazed. I'm okay with it. Yeah, is there anything else? I don't think so. I hope I mentioned everything. I hope I didn't forget anything. If you still like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this episode. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell to be notified whenever I post something, and I will see you next time. Bye!